Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Recruitment MasterMinds, the weekly coaching session. And I am really stoked. I'm so pleased because I've got a colleague of mine, somebody that I've known for a number of years. John, you're not going to embarrass me by telling me how many years, but I've known too many. I've known John for a number of years, and I met him when he was a recruitment business owner like us. So, and John's doing something very, actually, I was going to say very different. He's doing some different work, but actually still within our industry. And what I'd like to do is formally just welcome John. So, hi, John Jebb.
Hi, guys. Just to give you a little bit of background, before I went into saw the light and became a recruiter, I was actually in biotechnology, creating new products. If you're a gardener and you use nematodes, that's something we did and won the Queen's Award for. Back in 1996, the world was different. Recruitment was a great idea, a great chance to move forward, and companies were outsourcing like never before. So if you could be better then, if you could even just be half decent then, it was a great business opportunity. I spent 15 years as a franchisee of CNA International. In that time, we also worked on developing new tools and techniques to try and keep ourselves ahead of the game. And in 2011, after 15 years, I decided to do something different. So we went back to actually getting innovation out into the mainstream, trying to use the tools and techniques. And I linked up with a number of former colleagues who had been doing similar consultancy stuff. And one of the biggest headaches companies face when they're trying to recruit is getting the right people at the right time to do the right things. That needs better recruitment. They're not getting the people they have. They're still not getting the people they need. So I decided to have a look at why that was. What were the barriers? What was stopping them getting where they are? Had a word with a few HR directors, told them they were doing things quite badly, how they could do things better, and was told in no uncertain terms, we don't care about your opinion, we want hard evidence. So a year on, the hard evidence is there. Now, Roy, I believe, has sent out a link to a new website where you can download a report, Emerging Best Practice in Talent Acquisition.
John, I'm sorry to interrupt you, John. I'm going to pop that up on the screen as well. Guys, I sent it out to you. It would have come as an email with a link, but I'm actually going to try something new here. That on your screen, you should see a little pop-up on the right-hand side, the chat side, says sign up to get your free copy of John's report. It's called Emerging Best Practice in Talent Acquisition, with a download button there. So if you haven't got that already, you can, you basically sign up for that. I've taken the link that you're going to go to is specifically to a page for external recruiters, third-party recruitment businesses like ours. And it's a brilliant report. I've read this. I know John's going to be quite surprised because he'll tell you how many pages and how much detail has gone into it. But I have read it. It's a fantastic report. Whether you've got it now, whether you want to get it after the webinar, that's fine. But I'm going to leave that up there for a little bit. John, sorry to interrupt. Just wanted to let everyone know if they haven't got it already.
That's fine, Roy. I'm not seeing the pop-up, so I don't know whether other people are as well.
Yeah, it could be, John, because we're on the admin side that you're not seeing it on your screen. But in fact, guys, if you can, do me a favor, just chat, just type in if any of you have seen that pop-up. It should be in the right-hand side, just below your chat section. In fact, let me just make sure. I'm going to take out that. I just want to take out that. Yeah, it should come up on your right-hand side. Sign up to get your free copy of Emerging Best Practice. Sign up for the research report, the bite-sized digest, and all the extra insights. And then there's a click the great big yellow button, download now. It will take you through to John's site. There's a couple of details that he's going to ask for, just so that he can continue sending you the insights and the bite-sized chunks that will make the difference to us. So, John, I know you may not be seeing it on your screen, but I promise you it's up there.
Yeah, and just to say, it is important that you do sign up because, as Roy says, it's packed full of information. 65 pages of complete information. Not all of it's relevant to you because we're aiming it really as also at companies who are having trouble with their talent acquisition processes. We were looking at every stakeholder. What you'll see inside is a whole load of comments that everybody's making about each other. 900 odd people took part in the survey.
Wow.
We also did, I'm sure you understand what an NPC is, star candidate. We did a what we called a mystery shopper exercise with some of the larger companies to find out where were the barriers to their talent acquisition. So, you know, these are global corporations, people with big names. Directors wanted the talent we were producing, they weren't getting it, and internal obstacles were there. So you can have a look at where all that fell apart. So we did that with over 100 companies. We didn't get any placements out of it. That was one of the bad things for us. We had 18 really star people, and these were absolute world beaters in their field, and including people like the guy who launched sort of some of the major games for Sony onto the marketplace and involved the F1 teams in Grand Theft Auto. Every company wanted him, nobody got him, and that's one of the bad things about it.
Yeah.
50% of the companies failed in their attempts to get the people they were looking at. We had actually done it slightly different because we were working on the back of known vacancies that had been reported, so they're either on LinkedIn or had been found by Indeed. But what we did do was the standard NPC star candidate approach, and we've reported on the complete breakdown of where things went wrong, how things could go better. And on top of that, you've also got what people think of you, what people think of internal recruiters, what people think of RPOs.
I bet that was pretty damning, John.
Yeah, not many RPOs would actually take part in the process.
I wonder why.
But I think what we'll all understand is there are a lot of cheap and nasty, poor recruiters doing bad practice out there. There is a lot of bad practice in companies. They're actually doing things they shouldn't be doing, and a lot of it's down to control and convenience. People who don't really understand the recruitment processes want to control it. And that means we have to change hearts and minds in our clients. And so hopefully this will work.
John, I thank you, John, and I can see actually from some of the chat messages that have come through that people have already downloaded or signed up to download the report. So I know that the pop-in's working, so that's great. I'm really, really pleased. John, one of the scariest things that I picked up from the report, I mean, there's loads of great stuff. I can't, that's why I brought you on. I knew that the sort of stuff that you can share are brilliant, and in terms of applicable to every single one of the recruitment masterminds. We need to know this stuff. But one of the stats that I read that almost just horrified me, it didn't surprise me actually, but it did horrify me. It just confirmed what I'd felt for a long time, was that you said that the CIPD surveys had shown that 82% of organizations, client companies, anybody that's recruiting, reported difficulty in filling vacancies. But here's the thing that really scared me, that your research showed that less than 10% of company directors were happy with the outcome of the process used to recruit, high profile or specialized positions. That's fairly damning, isn't it?
Yeah, and in fact, that less than 10%, those are the ones that actually delivered a good result from their own processes.
Wow.
So if it didn't actually get the person they wanted, naturally they're not going to be happy with it.
Yeah.
But what was actually scarier, that 50% of them actually failed, and a lot of toxic hires were made in the process. Another statistic on that basis, though, is that from the CIPD process, is that the world has changed. There's been a tipping point. Probably a new paradigm is now created. So this actually involves companies moving from outsourcing to internal teams. The CIPD 2013 resourcing survey now shows that over 2/3 of companies that took part in that survey do all their resourcing, recruiting in-house, or claim to.
Right.
We know they actually don't. But there's actually only about 10% that actually outsource completely, and that is a big game changer. So really where we want to go today is actually say, well, how can we stand out? How can we be different? How can we take that change in the market structure and actually create an opportunity for ourselves? And that's where top recruiters like you guys have a really great advantage over somebody else, because a lot of the others ain't doing anything about it. They're just reducing the fees, struggling to get there, going contingency, and well, if nothing changes, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, John, I'm quite biased of these members, and you know, and fiercely loyal. They are, you know, and I know I've shared this with you as well. That the guys within this group, the business owners within this group, straight away they're progressive. These are guys that are really, really keen to embrace whatever the market, or, sorry, whatever they can find that improves their offering to clients, to candidates, to their own internal teams. Anything they can do to grow their businesses, you know, they welcome and they embrace. So, John, I know that you've got some things that you could share with us that, you know, away from the report, these things aren't contained in the report, that you think could really help them. Is that? Do you want me to try and open up that the screen share?
Yeah, if you can, we can move straight into there, because I think where the benefit of this will come will be questions and answers afterwards, which we can actually spend some more time on.
Fantastic. All right, John. So look, I just want to make sure, I'm going to try, if I can, to... John, you let me know. Can you see this on your screen?
Yeah, that's perfect for me.
Fantastic. So, John, look, and for everyone else that's watching, I'm controlling John's presentation, so he's just going to give me some kind of verbal clue when he's ready, and I'll just advance the slides for him. John, over to you.
Brilliant. Okay, hopefully you can all see this. So the big question, the big challenge for you is, how unique are you really? How different do you think you are? Because this is about perceptions, and one of the key factors that came out, one of the really startling statistics, is the HR directors and professionals that we talked to, all senior people involved in recruitment strategies. They told me that less than 1% of the people they dealt with would be recommended. They only regarded less than 1% as providing an exemplary service. That means 99% aren't doing anything that they actually regarded as anything special. In fact, almost all the HR directors that we spoke to, one or two were different, and there are case histories on there, but almost all said that they really couldn't tell the difference between the offers of their recruitment partners. They said they understood the difference between executive search and agency work. When it actually came down to what they were being told and the terms and conditions, there really wasn't anything that was actually making it stand out. And so this is something we need to work on. Not only taking on board what Roy's been talking about in his previous videos and actually being better, being different, and like he says, you know, there are companies like you who are, but being seen to be better, being seen to be different. And what I want to do is introduce to you 4 steps to achieving that, and by the end of the process becoming a complete game changer, which actually gives you a massive competitive advantage and locks out your competitors.
We're always interested.
Do you want to move on to the next one, Roy?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So those of you who haven't already done so, please go and get this report, because you need to start using it. As I said, we were challenged to not just come up with opinions, but hard evidence. This is the hard evidence. So how can you use it? Well, first of all, you can have a look at and see what really sort of rocks your boat on there. Get rid of any bad practices that are going on in your organizations. Have a word with everybody who's working. Make sure they're all singing off the same hymn sheet. Embed the best practice, stuff that's relevant to you. Not all of it will be. Some of it will be relevant to your client organizations. But they need to change as well. So one way you can use it is to get it in front of your clients. Now, on the hiring-innovation.com site, where you can download this, there are other pages for hiring authorities, for HR, and for internal talent heads. This enables you to actually have multiple touch points within your client organizations and prospective clients. Don't just rely on one person wanting you. We found this from our secret shopper surveys that just working on one touch point doesn't really work. Try and influence everybody you can, and this is a great way of going about it. In fact, when you go out to your next client meeting, take it with you. Put it in front of your client. Point out what you're doing. Tell them how you're implementing this, and explain to them how in partnership you can use this information to really improve what they're doing, improve their success rates, and give them the ability to win the war for talent. Next. Do you want to change it, Roy?
Done, John.
There we go. Okay. Step 2 is making strategic change. We haven't got time to go into the real detail on this, and I hope you can see some of it there. There are 2 business models which I want to introduce to you, which will really accelerate your development and help you move forward, not only in being seen to be different, but becoming a game changer. This one in front of you is called the competitive capability model. It was actually developed at Warwick University, the Warwick consultancy group, which a couple of my colleagues were leaders in at the time. This actually was used to transform Jaguar Land Rover from a failing company where they were actually only 2 months away from total collapse to the success and the world-dominating company they are again right now. Don't go into the detail here. Have a look, I'll answer any questions later. What I want you to take on board from this is you can't really change your business if you can't change the individuals. Key to any change is getting people on board and getting their capability to transform better, their ability to deliver better, their ability to perform and develop process, because that is what your clients see. In fact, this is a great way, Roy, to actually implement the 5 elements from your video series.
Good.
Would you like to refresh us what those 5 were?
If I can remember them, John, I'd love to. I think anyone else is out there is going to correct me, I know. First, it's 5 Ps. The first one is purpose, and you guys know all about that. We've worked a lot on those. Planning, world-class processes, I think it's performance, and then people, or people and performance, or people and perform. So yeah, and John, I'm presuming that this really goes straight through to the processes, performance, and people.
Yeah, I think what you pointed out is to really be ahead of the game, you need world-class processes.
Yeah.
And that ultimately is what the clients are going to see. They're going to see your people, and they're going to see how they perform. And how they perform depend on the processes you have. And they need the capability to actually deliver that consistently, time after time. There is one other P that actually isn't mentioned in those videos, and it's probably the most important P from your client's point of view. That's your product.
Yeah.
Do you want to move on to the next one, Roy?
Thank you.
Right. This is another business model. It's called the Cano model. It's developed, not surprisingly, by a guy called Professor Cano. 1980s, and what he was actually doing was researching the relationships between what a product does, what it is, and how that influences the perceptions of the customers. Now, this was famously taken on board and exploited by Steve Jobs, and actually dictated how Apple changed from being a basic computer company to something which was disrupting the marketplace. Now, I will take this one through step by step. So if we move on to the next one. Right. There is a common misconception, it's quite reasonable if you think about it, that the more a product does, the happier the customer will be. Basically, increase functionality, do more, get happier. Actually, it only works when you've actually got one product, one unique product in the marketplace. The reason for that is we're dealing with people. Next. People are fickle. people have expectations. They change those expectations over time. So even if you've got a fully functional product, you're not actually guaranteeing customer satisfaction. You don't necessarily end up with a happy customer because they expect it anyway. Let's call it the Ronseal curve, because if you don't do what you say is on the tin, then you've got an unhappy customer. So do you always do what you say you're going to do? Do your people always do what they say you're going to do? Do you always do what the customer expects? Because if you don't, that's the first thing that you need to change.
I think we're all guilty of that one, John.
Let's assume. Well, it's a good reminder, and this was something in the 80s. It isn't rocket science. It isn't new. And if you think about it, it's something that should be standard process, standard operating procedures. You can introduce. You can actually do something about. But once the basic requirements are in place, and let's assume you'll get them in place if you haven't already, then there is actually a linear relationship between further functionality and customer satisfaction. So once you've got their minimum expectations covered, you can then start building in things that will make a customer happy and come back more. But beware the big grey zone, the zone of indifference. Does this actually chime with you? Because in this area, customers don't care or don't recognize the difference between different products or service offerings. The only thing they're buying on there is price. Does that make sense to anybody?
Yeah, for sure, John. I think, and this is the thing, isn't it, that clients will say, oh, I get this same service from so-and-so PLC down the road, or, I've spoken to 5 other recruiters and they're going to get me the same types of candidates. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, we all say the same thing. We all say we're specialists in our marketplace, we're different, oh, we're honest, we're ethical. Really? Romney Roars has done quite a lot of videos. You can find them on YouTube, and he says exactly the same thing, and that was, over a year ago. The HR directors we were speaking to said that, basically, because only less than 1% of organizations were actually delivering something which they considered, exceptional, that means 99% of recruiters they deal with regularly, and that's getting rid of all the cowboys that aren't doing the basic stuff right. So in terms of their eyes, 99% of recruiters are in this zone of indifference. And it actually is going to take quite a lot of effort and smart thinking to get out of it. Now, the real smart thinking bit is what's just come up in your screen, is the blue curve to the top of the graph. This is what Steve Jobs really got excited about. And this, what it shows is that there can be additional elements that, whilst not being deal breakers if they're not present, if they are present, really serve to actually improve the perception of your business, of the company's perception of it. And it doesn't have to be related totally to functionality. This is called a delighter curve, and this is something I want you to start thinking about. How can you go the extra mile? How can you delight your customers? Because if you can continue doing that, you're creating barriers to entry. There is a thing about this, though, and the next slide will show it.
Sorry, John, bear me just 1 second. Let me try and go back to... I'm going to bring your presentation back up. Bear me a second. Is that better? Can you see that, John?
I can see that, yeah, and we're back onto there.
John, I'm so sorry. I just had I had a notification from someone. That's why I just took the screen off. That as you were speaking, it was coming back up to your camera. So I think I've made the adjustment now that they should just see the presentation slides whilst you're speaking. I hope that's okay for everyone. Sorry, John, carry on.
That's okay. I'm sure, Roy, I've got no problem with you emailing out these slides to people in the PDF format you've got.
Thank you very much.
So it's great on there. But what happens with this delighter curve? Over time, what used to delight actually becomes the basic requirements of future products. I'm sure none of you would now buy a car if it didn't have ABS braking? Would you ever consider now buying a new phone if it doesn't have an integral camera? Well, yeah, but only a few years ago, these were premium brand differentiators. These are things that made differences. This is what actually took products out of the zone of indifference. Now you don't want anything else, and that's called the system entropy. Over time, things get less valued, so you have to keep producing new stuff that will be valued. And the next slide will actually show you that if you do it the standard way, which is trying to build your product with incremental improvements, most companies, no matter what industry, this is the way it happens. This is what they think is actually innovation. Because of the fact that customer perceptions change, because expectations get increased, standard product development still ends up in the zone of indifference. So what can you do about it? Well, step 3, the next slide. If we have it.
Sorry, John, there it is.
Be innovative. Be creative. Get on board and actually get everybody that's involved in your business creating new ideas, discussing it. Let's turn things on their head. Now, no idea in this process is bad, but not all of them are going to fly. Not all of them are going to shine. But this is where we come back to one of Roy's comments that I really love from his presentation. Get rid of your self-limiting beliefs, because those are all the duds. Yeah. Okay, so that's fine, Roy. Move on to that one. You've all heard of the phrase, think outside the box, I'm sure. Actually, for this process, forget it. The box itself, by being there, is a barrier to innovation. What you need to do is chuck the box away completely. The ideas you have actually exist in what's called a phase space. Basically, this is a way of plotting the process so that all ideas and all combinations can be actually envisaged. And any product or service can be broken down into 5 main components, and these are on the screen. What I like to do is really remind people about a quote which was made by Sherlock Holmes in one of the books by Arthur Conan Doyle. It's probably been used in the TV series as well. If you eliminate the impossible, everything else, no matter how improbable, is still possible. And this process actually enables you to actually capture every possible, no matter how improbable, and actually plot it on a system based on your process, based on your products, which identifies what you need to do to move from where you are at the moment, which is right in the center, to where you can be, and that depends on what your capability is. Now, we talked about the capability matrix before, the competitive capability model. That means changing your capability, becoming even more innovative, be able to do something different, requires strategic change. So we come full circle. And that's step 4, which is the next slide. Future-proofing your business, being seen to be different time and time again, continuously, beating the opposition, staying ahead of the competition. All this needs a continuous virtuous cycle of development to be done. If you've got this in process already, that's brilliant. This is something I'm really excited about working with Roy with. We're going to put our heads together and see how we can combine all the processes, because it still requires world-class processes, people getting better, capabilities improving, and then bringing in this idea of innovation, overcoming the barriers that get in the way, implementing them, reviewing, changing, evaluating, creating, and going through it time and time again so that you're constantly outside that zone of indifference. You've all got Roy's contact details. My direct line is in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. I'm happy to answer any questions, cover any facts that you want to know, give me a call anytime. If I'm busy, leave a message. But those are the main points I wanted to go through. The rest is therefore down to you guys to ask the questions.
John, thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate the just introducing us. And as you said, some of those business models there, those innovation and thought process models, they've been around for a while, but either we've not been exposed to them, or if we have been exposed to them, it gets lost. So to have somebody who's an innovation specialist, John, what I'm about, and the masterminds already know me for this. I just think, best practice will never go out of fashion. Best practice is best practice, and it doesn't matter whether it's best practice today or it was best practice 20, 30 years ago. We're always happy to be introduced. So look, guys, I can see as well. As John is talking. So look, I can see that. Whilst John was speaking, the presentation was slipping away from the slides, and John's made the very, very kind gesture that I'm going to email those slides out to you. But look, you've got an innovation specialist here, and I know John's very, very generous with his time. We've got about 15 minutes where he will answer any question that you have. If you need. And thank you, John. And if you need me to, if anybody out there has got a question about a particular slide, what I can do is I can always bring that slide back up and have John explain any point to us. But look, the opportunity here, guys, just to reiterate, John Jebb is one of us. He's a recruitment specialist. He's worked as a business owner, an SME business owner, for, John, do you mind me asking how many years?
15 years.
Okay, he's pedigree, right? So 15 years in our space, and now as an innovation consultant, he's using that recruitment experience and he's helping not only recruitment businesses but client companies, internal recruiters. John, you're basically what you're trying to do is help us drive the standards of our industry, this thing that is recruitment. That's correct?
Yeah, as I said, companies are struggling to find the people they need.
Yeah.
We need to help them do that. That's our job, isn't it?
Well, John, absolutely right. I agree, and I think one of the things for me, I'm just going to wait for some questions to come through, but one of the things for me that is just, it's incredibly frustrating. 27 years I've been working in our industry, and we try wherever we can to be the standard and set the bar that other people are judged against. But I'm continuing that 27 years. I'm continually dumbfounded by clients whose response to my attempts to differentiate say, oh, well, that's what so and so says, and that's what so and so says, and sometimes I do question my own sanity. I always think, oh well, hang on, am I really different? But sometimes I also think that clients will play that thing, even when there is difference, they'll play it as a negotiation ploy. And I don't want to be cynical, but is that your experience too, John?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I had a little bit of advantage over the business because I existed in a niche for 15 years, a niche which I controlled.
Yeah.
Although I would never classify myself as a mastermind, I'd never classify myself as a big biller. But it paid the bills, it paid the mortgage, it got my daughter into college, it's given me a nice lifestyle, and it enabled me an exit plan, and it allowed me to live my dream. The problem being is I'm back now having to help companies trying to find the people they want. But let's try and do it in a different way. Let's adjust ourselves to their needs, not impose what we think they want. I think we're getting some questions up there. Yeah. I can't really see them. If John, you could actually run through some.
John, let me do that. I've got a question in from Nathan Connolly, and just to let you know, John, Nathan runs a business based down in Bristol. I don't know what the weather's like in Bristol today, Nathan. Perhaps you could let us know. But based in Bristol, and the company's called Consortia Personnel. Now, Nathan's question, John, is we are trying. I'm just going to read this to you. We're trying to implement these changes, but at what level does John feel that real changes can be made from within the business? we're recruiting for one company for a HR manager, and we've just found out that the current HR manager, who is the only point of contact we're allowed to have, is the accounts payable clerk who's going back to their old role. There is a further thing here as well. They've managed they've managed a new PSL review. They've hired 10 people, and senior management appear to want to wash their hands of the process. John, I know there's a lot there. I don't know if you can help Nathan, and he's told us that the weather's crap in Bristol, so he's not having a good day.
No, it's bloody freezing here as well, for all I tell you. I'm going to have to put the fan heater on in a moment. So, right. Trying to find a decision maker who's actually going to make a decision, I think, is the first thing you've got to do. Again, find those multiple touch points. Talk to them about how other companies are doing the same thing and getting the same results. That one of the key factors, and one thing that actually came through all this, is the need for better communication. Create communication channels. Doing that, you become a partner, not a supplier. It's easy to say, difficult to implement, because, as I said at the beginning, you need to change hearts and minds.
John, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, John. I know, I can see, I can actually hear, and you'd have been on that side of the fence, John, as well, as a recruitment business owner. I can hear the masterminds out there saying, John, you know something, I really try and establish relationships with line managers, with exec level and senior level within a business, but I'm constantly told by HR to not speak to those people, that HR rule the roost, and without sort of taking away Nathan's question, if there's anything you can add to there, but I can hear the masterminds out there saying, yeah, great in theory, but how can we do that when HR are blocking us? Did your report actually find anything regarding that point, John?
It certainly found there was a lot of HR blockages.
Yeah.
My own experiences, though, is I remember being taught way back in 1996, and I don't know whether this is still a case of standard recruitment training, Roy. You can have it, but we're always told to avoid HR at all costs.
Yeah.
And yes, you should always go to the hiring authority, because that's the person who's going to make the decision. But when you're actually considering other consultancies, HR are not that bad. They just need to have you as a friend. It's about being seen as doing something for them to help their job, because they are 9-to-5 jobs worthies by and large. I've had some great relationships with HR directors, but 99% of the time, I avoid HR.
Yeah,
what I'm having to do now, there's even HR involved in innovation, and that's a real struggle.
I could never eat a whole one, John, and I'm not sure that I would call them friends, but I know exactly what you're saying. Sort of joking apart, I've always trained, as you said, it's like go to the highest authority, the relevant authority for the decision that you're looking for. So if I was in, recruitment agency specializing in admin staff or whatever, I would go to perhaps the office manager. But if I was looking at recruiting senior people, I would go to the highest authority in that land. Now, the proviso with that, though, is I never have endorsed. I know that there are some training courses out there that say, HR are your enemy and you've got to do everything you can to batter through them, etc. It's like, no, actually, I think, and the majority of the masterminds here will tell you they're smarter than that. I think, it's about, John, as you said, it's embracing them. It's trying to understand actually their frustrations, their needs, their wants, and working with them. And whenever I used to, go into client meetings, I'd say to them that my job as your recruiter is to help you, is to actually make you look good. And as my ally, as somebody that's going to work with me, we can work together to, to realize whatever goal. So I was trying to really understand, how are you judged? What frustrations do you have? How are you measured at the end of the year? What are your reviews and bonuses and appraisals based on? because if you can tap into that and you know, get HR on side, then it's better to have that kind of relationship. And John, as you said, they're better. Procurement are my worst enemies. You know, I love going to battle with them, but they are my worst enemies. HR, you know, if there is a way around it. John, there is a question that came through, and actually it's one that I was thinking as you were making the presentation. Justine, thank you for this. Justine's asking, Justine runs a business with her sister Tracy, and they run, John, a company called Harris Lord, based in Horsham. And multi-desk, they fill perm and temp contract positions, generalists, but they also have a scientific division as well, engineering division, I'm so sorry. But Justine's asking, with regard to the reports, are we allowed to send these to our clients? I think they might find them of interest. I think they would, and they would help us educate some of our more difficult clients. What's the story on that one, John?
I prefer they went and actually downloaded their own, because what we're going to do is actually find extra information that comes through over time, and we'll be actually putting that in terms of broadcast emails specifically to the needs of the companies.
Okay.
There's no reason why you shouldn't, though, give them a copy of the report.
Brilliant.
What they won't get is, if you give them, they won't get all this extra insight and the information which will actually help them solve their own, their own issues. So
John, just to be clear,
they can sign up.
Sorry, just to be clear. So, you know, Justine could take a copy, a printed off, copied copy of the report, give it to a client, and you use it as part of the meeting to maybe discuss and illustrate and draw their attention to. Give them the report, but say, look, you know, you can get the online version of this as a PDF version that you'll be able to share more easily internally, and also, you know, we'd recommend you do sign up, because the insights, the further information that you get is really valuable. So just pushing them towards it, but obviously they can't, you know, someone like Justine wouldn't want to force her client to sign up. But are you happy, John, for them to use that in that way?
Yeah, I mean, even Justine, if you want to email the PDF to them, please do so, but actually point out that there will be extra information released, you know, over the weeks and months and years coming on, which will be part of the continuation of this process. This is a report which is now in history. One thing I've always thought about, the problem with history is there's no future in it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's already a snapshot in time which is behind us. Things will change, and things will continue to change. So,
absolutely right. John, Nathan Conley's asked, does the report discuss where HR tend to report to? Finance department, the managing director, procurement? Did the report illustrate or highlight where they are reporting up to?
No, because it depends who in HR you're dealing with. A lot of the people, okay, to make life easy for ourselves, I was obviously dealing with people I had some network contacts with. They're more likely to respond well with the process. We got turned down by thousands of people in this report. The people we were dealing with were at a strategic level in the business. So some would be reporting to finance, some would actually be sitting on the board themselves. So there was no consistent thing, and it really wasn't something we were looking for. What we actually found was, it's worth having a look, Nathan, at the difference between who is making the strategic decisions for recruitment and who thinks that they should be making the decisions for recruitment, because there is a difference there, and that's a difference where internal recruiters are trying to take that over, that influencing role, whereas HR, about 50% of them are responsible for the strategies. So those ones that are, there's no way around them. It's about relationship and communication. It's an attrition. It's a slow process. You can't just overnight go in and say, hey, here's the report, do this now and you'll be my friend.
Sure.
No, you've got to encourage it. It's about building that relationship. But from the point of view from the hiring authorities, the directors of businesses and the business leaders, they were looking at HR as being people who should be facilitating the administration of the process. But on a case-by-case basis, they still wanted HR to actually own the process themselves, because the hiring authorities didn't have the time to do it. So there will always be that linkage going on there. But
John,
there is something you can exploit in the process.
Thank you, John. And just we're coming close in terms of time now, John. But I just wanted to come back to Nathan's point as well, just his specific example there of a client that he's working with. And John, I'm not sure if you'd agree with this, or if there's anything else that you would add. But it seems with Nathan's example here, and you know, we might need more detail or whatever, but it seems with Nathan's example that this particular company, the HR manager has put in place this PSL, they've recruited a few people, he or she is moving into a payroll clerk's position. Clearly they haven't done that great a job, or maybe not, I don't know. But anyway, they're moving forward, they're moving into a clerk's position. And it seems like the senior management have washed their hands. It's like, well, we've ticked that box, we've got a PSL, we've got a new HR manager, hopefully he's going to get recruited, it's not our responsibility. My advice, John, I'm not sure if you would agree with this, but my advice to Nathan would be, you know, something you need to get in with the senior level of that business, the seniors that have washed their hands, and maybe it's an education process. Look, just something we felt we should point out to you, or looking at perhaps the potential dangers for them going forward. John, anything you'd agree? Nathan just given me a comment. They were useless to begin with. Right, okay. John, anything you'd add to that? Whilst you're answering that, I'm just going to read through Justine's come through, but by all means respond to that last point.
Yeah, Nathan, I'm sure you'll appreciate you can't win them all. You've got a problem because you've got a dysfunctional company with a dysfunctional PSL. All I can say is do your best. Try and win this one, because if you get your candidate in, you've got an influencer and a supporter in that business.
Yeah.
I've only ever recruited one HR person. That person is a client now, and I don't do HR. So yeah, do the keep doing what you're doing, Nathan. You remember you are a mastermind in this business. You're at the top of the thing. You should be able to get ahead of your opposition anyway because of your own capabilities.
It's a good advice there. Thank you, John. John, final point here, and it's actually a really good question from Justine before we wrap up. I'm really interested to know the answer to this one as well. Justine has said, I'm interested to know what's the single most exciting innovation, John, that you've come across in the last year that we should be implementing into our businesses.
Right. Not easy. A lot of the innovation I've been involved in is actually outside of recruitment. There is little, if any, real innovation going on in recruitment. The innovation charity Nesta doesn't even have recruitment as an industry on its innovation league table. Their lowest one is agriculture and forestry. And yet you've got, their genetic engineering involved. So there are companies doing it. I'm probably not the best person to talk about here. Roy knows more about what you guys are doing. There are good things going on, and I think where you've got to look at it is what has actually happened in the last year. Probably the most exciting thing is the ability to develop communities. How you do it needs to be different than what other people are doing. So some people are using the .tv video processing system, and there were one or two have become game changers because they've become thought leaders in that process. What I'd say is do what you do best and then do it better, because that will always be the most exciting thing, because it's yours, not mine.
Good, really good advice. John, sadly we are running out of time, but I just want to mention 2 points here. Graham Ormond has said here, some companies want to dump on HR. So it's a comment, not a question. Some companies want to dump on HR, and other companies have human resources grabbing power with compliance and law as a pressure. And Graham, yeah, I'll endorse that one as well. Nathan said, much appreciated. John, the advice and content of today. Much appreciated. This is his reasoning behind consortia personnel moving into the HR market. It's a really good point, and actually, John, you reminded me of the fact that, you know, in terms of that 27 years, my career as a recruiter, I've got to say to you, hand on heart, I probably only made friends with one HR manager, and I met her really early on. She was a junior officer in one company, and we stayed in touch. She moved into another company. She was a manager. And the beauty of that relationship was that she introduced me to what ultimately ended up as one of my biggest key accounts at that time. I've got to say to you, hand on heart, I've got to be really honest, I didn't, you know, I kept in touch with her, and it was brilliant and everything else, but I didn't carry that strategy into any other relationship with HR. How stupid is that? You know, it was a brilliant one. I can't even tot up the amount of business I would have signed off of that back of that relationship. So, Nathan, I totally endorse the you know, the HR market, in that they're decision makers, they're influencers. As Graham has pointed out earlier on, companies dump on HR, so, you know, you can get close to the ones that have got some kind of dissatisfaction. But equally, HR are the law of the land in some companies. It's pointless us making enemies of these folks. Justine has said, John, I don't know if you can see that message. Thank you, John. Really interesting stuff. It's been great to have you on board.
Thanks, Justine. It's nice to be appreciated.
And you know, echoing that from everybody, John. Thank you so much for you know, agreeing to come on today. Now, look, guys, I'm going to pop up if I can get this on. You'll see this come up on your screens. I've got some contact information. I know John gave you the phone number. I'm going to give that one back to you again as well. Let me just get this up. John's given you, I know most of you have downloaded the report, and you've got the link for that. If you haven't, let me know. I can send that out to you again, or you'll get that in a follow-up email. But I've just popped up onto the screen a chance for you to connect with John via LinkedIn. John, I hope you don't mind me doing that. I didn't ask your permission. Is that okay? Fantastic. So
absolutely. LinkedIn is one of the key tools which will continue to be exploited. We just got to stop it being a recruitment job board and actually keep it as a professional networking site.
Yeah.
One thing that just occurred to me, Roy, that comes back to our earlier conversation is, one advice I would give, and it doesn't matter whether it's HR or anybody else, find the drivers for that role. Find out what influences what they need to do and what they want for that role. But then change the old ABC of selling, the always be closing. Change it to always be consulting. Yeah. That's probably the best advice I can give you.
John, I think that's sage advice. Thank you. I've written that one down. Always be consulting. I actually thought you were going to say always be opening, and it was like, wow, I thought that was good. Always be consulting. Brilliant. John, thank you so much. I'm going to just round off today. Guys, remember, if you missed any part of this, you can watch the recording. It's going to be available to you, emailed a link to you, so up to 72 hours you can get that. After that, it will be loaded up onto the members area. Please, if you've got any questions at all, you've got now John's contact details. If you want to ask me something to pass on to John, happy to do that. And just before I let you all go, I just wanted to say a massive, massive thank you, not only to you, John, for you know, being generous and sharing that information with us, but also thank you to the masterminds. You guys have been blown away. You know this, all of you know it because you've helped me. I wrote my first book. I've been threatening it for 20 years, and finally I was able to release the Recruitment Blueprint. Sorry, I've got to get the title right. And with your help and support, we got to #1 on Amazon in 3 different categories. Dee will tell me how many people downloaded it within 2 days.
Within 2 days, it was about 1,200.
There was about 1,200 recruiters globally, worldwide, who downloaded that book within 2 days. And that's down not just to the content, because people didn't know about the content, but down to people like you, you know, fellow masterminds, my colleagues around this table that were supportive. You've downloaded it, you've written reviews, etc. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. We meaning all of us, got it to #1, and that was what I was aiming to do. So thank you for that. John, do you just want to say a final goodbye to everyone here?
Yeah, and I'll build on your book, Roy, because I haven't read it all the way through. You've read my report, but one thing that strikes me is something everybody should be doing in this industry. Even if they've only got a few seconds a day, take time, implement at least one of those golden nuggets on a daily basis, because what you've got in that book, Roy, is some tremendous stuff, and I'm glad you gave it for me for free because I can use it now.
John, thank you. That's really, really lovely to have that endorsement. I really appreciate all of your support. And masterminds out there as well. Guys, I'm going to let you get back to your day. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, catch the replay on the members area if you want to go back through over any of the information. John's contact details, LinkedIn, connect with him. He'd love to hear from you. Any questions you've got about that report. And Justine, John's given us permission. He said, look, share this information with clients. Let's use it to educate our clients and get that relationship, that you guys are all looking for, but use this as what's the word, that credibility. Use this as leverage to improve those relationships. Thanks ever so much. Have a great day, and remember, work hard on your recruitment business, not just in it, and make a difference in the lives of your clients, your candidates, and your colleagues. Maybe because John's here, we should say, make a difference in the lives of your clients. Let's do that one. Take care, everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.